Second house, owning. This is the house of Taurus. So it's very interesting that you guys have this. But this is the second house has a lot to do with possession. What is yours? What belongs to you? Taurus rules the house of rules the second house, and its key words, right? Its key phrase is, "I have." Okay, so with Taurus, I have. I believe Scorpio is I possess, but I want to double check really quickly with that. But the premise for the second house would have a lot to do with perhaps finances, with money. It could sometimes it doesn't have to just strictly be from I transform. Excuse me, Scorpio is I transform, not I possess, but I transform. So whatever they have, you transform, right? But that's your opposite house. That's the opposite house for the second house, anyway. The house of Scorpio, which is the eighth. But it doesn't have to just do with finances. It doesn't have to just do with things, tangible things. It could have to do with your self-esteem, what you see as a value. Because what I have is something that you would obviously possess based off of the value system that you have. Your value system, your self-esteem, the way you carry yourself. But most importantly, it is definitely, the second house has a lot to do with what you believe is yours, and having to do with your personal spiritual self, if that makes sense. What part of you belongs to you? Mainly, mainly what I'm getting from this energy for you guys this time is what is yours. Okay, what is yours? And it may have to do with it may have to do with self-esteem, but I don't know yet. So we're gonna have to kind of dive into the reading to really get a closer look as to what the second house is tailing to. All right, so underlying energy is the Six of Cups. Underneath that is the King of Cups. The rest of the cards are upside down, or is right side up. It's only the Six of Cups that came up reversed. Very interesting. And I make sure to shuffle it in a way that no cards are upside down. But I've been noticing with this deck, there's been cards that come up reversed. I don't read reversals though, but I'm definitely going to acknowledge that it's definitely weird, and something that we'll take note in later on. The Six of Cups, what that card really indicates to me, especially in your underlying energy, Scorpio, is that there has to do with a soulmate connection or having to do with something referencing the past. Because we already had the Three of Swords come up, and that's usually a past issue, something that does refer to something that's already happened. And the Six of Cups, this could indicate to happy memories, rose-tinted glasses. The Six of Cups could also indicate children, but I don't think there's really any children involved. Some of you guys may have some direct children involved, but I don't think it's the case. But anywho, what makes you happy? What memories do you have of a time when you felt the most happy, the most innocent? I feel like this is a snapshot of innocence here. Okay, it's a snapshot of innocence in which this is before you lost your sense of innocence. This is a time when you, where everything was wonderful. It was a time of ignorance in a sense. Not saying that you've ever been ignorant, but you may not have been aware of certain things prior to this instance where you may have met someone, you may have kindled a relationship with someone, or you've had a period in your time where you were going on a set goal. Maybe you were going to school and you had a certain idea of how something would pan out, and then you lived, right? Different things took different turns, and now you're here, right? You're a little bit more, you're seasoned, right? You're a little bit more aware of things where you may not have been aware before. And I kind of feel like the Six of Cups isn't necessarily a card where you're like, ooh, be careful of rose-tinted glasses, and looking at something with a pigment to it where it's not necessarily as it is, right? I feel like you guys are noticing things about yourself that you may not have noticed before. That's what I'm getting with the Six of Cups, because when you look back at a time when you were innocent, you have become aware of something that you were once not aware of before. And I kind of get the vibe that you guys are coming to a state of awareness. Now, with that state of awareness coming up, you have your heart of your reading is indicating that there is a bit of defensiveness, but not in a bad way. But you have something to stand by. You put in a lot of work into something. You did a lot of of pushing with this, not in the sense of like forcing something to happen, but you have gone through enough turmoil to know what turmoil looks like. But the reason why I brought up the reason why I brought up defensiveness is because the Five of Wands is right crossing it. You've already, if the heart of the reading is suggesting that you have surpassed this moment, the crossing would suggest that this is also a hindrance. This is something that's also in your way. This is what you're defending yourself against, constant conflict. But I feel like you've already done the conflict already. Something already tells me that the situation in which you've been through with this Five of Wands has already happened, which is why the past cards had come up twice. Three of Swords, and then the Six of Cups. Two cards that reference the past, and then now you have current energy, which is the Seven, and then you've gone back a step with the Five. I feel like you're looking at a situation and trying to become more aware of conflict before it arises, because you do not want to be caught off guard. I feel like there's an energy where you're refusing to be caught off guard. So you're paying more attention to detail, you're hyper aware, and you're hypersensitive to situations that are coming to you, or signs that something's a brewing, okay? Now in the past, the Justice card comes up. I feel like you've got some things straightened out, things set to rights here. So I think some things may have been unfair or not quite as balanced as you would like it in the previous, but you've shaped it up. Something has happened where things are now at a stable place. You've gotten yourself pretty far here with justice. Now, I feel like this is not necessarily to do with necessarily taking action in a situation. Some of it can be, but mostly where this has come from is forgiveness. Or noticing a situation from its other point of view, and you were able to balance the scales. You were able to even the keel, okay? Now you have the Page of Swords, where you're looking for more information, you're observant, and you are aware. But I feel like but also there may be some immature communication here that you're noticing. Now, it's interesting. I pulled you to a reading prior to this, and I didn't know if I was making any sense. And the cards that you got before was the 12th house and the moon as your underlying energy. And this reading is no different. It's exactly the same. But the difference, well, it's the same to some degree. The part that's very interesting to me regarding this reading here is the second house choice, where we went from 12 now to the second. And I feel like this is about what you know. And the last one I feel like was definitely about what you know, even though it was suggesting the 12th house and the moon, where something may be going on and you may be aware of it, but you don't know yet, so you had to just kind of hang tight. This reading is telling me the same thing. I feel like you're picking up on some small indication that something's going down, something needs a little bit more awareness, but I feel like I kind of feel like things are going to be fine and things are going to move very smoothly, but you're just so aware of what something could lead up to that you're preparing yourself for something, not necessarily for something bigger than it probably is. Now, I'm not saying that you're overreacting at all, but I am saying that whatever you're picking up is definitely probably there, and I would say trust your intuition, because you've been through enough to know that you can trust your part of yourself that's picking up all these signs, picking up all these synchronicities or all these indications that would suggest that something's coming. So I'm definitely not saying not trust yourself. Trust yourself. But in the way of handling it, perhaps, there may be something that's coming in that may need a little bit more conversation, and it doesn't need to actually go crazy or fall off the rails. So I feel like with the Five of Wands, it's indicating that the situation there is some sort of conflict, but one where it can be easily resolved, if that makes sense. Because I see the Knight of Wands here. It's going. That's having more fun and focusing on the passions or the situation at hand, rather than, straying off and letting it get too crazy. So I feel like right now, yes, you know something's coming, Scorpio, but the way that you're going about it is very good, with not reacting to what you feel, but just being ready to hear what you need to hear, so that way you can dispute whatever this arguing is, whatever this imbalance is, whatever this conflict is, because you are hyper aware of what that looks like. You already know what that looks like. So it's nice to see the Knight of Pentacles, because it's telling you, it's not telling you to do anything, but I feel like your approach with it is slow and steady. The card is the card of slow and sorry. The Knight of Pentacles is the card of slow and steady, taking it easy, being very meticulous, and coming at it with a strategy. This could have to do with your workspace. It could have to do with something at work, or somebody that is just, that's, you could be dealing with somebody that may not be up to the skills desirable, but this is someone that doesn't necessarily stop to just admire. This is someone that's slow moving and slowly progressing in a positive way. And I feel like this could be you taking this opportunity with what you know and taking slow approaches and how to handle them differently. So um I feel like with this coming up here, the sixth of sorry, the seventh, excuse me, the sixth. Oh my goodness, I don't know why I'm not saying the second. I'm just trying my best to not say the second today. The second house is interesting when it comes up because this would, like I said, this suggests what belongs to you, what is yours, and I feel like what is yours, what you value, is knowledge and information, material that you can use to work with. Because I feel like the situation is that someone may be bringing you a message or some sort of information that's expressive of something that may need more looking into. Okay, and it could be someone calling someone out, being someone that's that's coming from a preconceived notion of something that doesn't necessarily exist, and it could be squashed right here and there. But it comes from a cool, collected attitude, and it comes from someone that's looking for solution rather than causing more chaos, which I feel like is you. You are the person that's coming into it thinking, okay, so this is what's happening. Let's take a slower approach. Let's take a quicker approach. Now, I kind of get the vibe too for some of you guys. This could indicate that there may have been a perceived notion that something was, was straightened out. Or this could be that there was a problem that came up immediately. Now, the Justice card doesn't always come up. It is not a card that would signify problems. This is something that Justice is a card where things are balanced out, where they're straightened out, they're made even, and things are or either resolved or again forgiven. But this is usually a situation where there is a call for some sort of judgment or some sort of a call of a situation that needs more that needs to be precisely handled in a way that needs to be sorted out in the best way possible. And I feel like with the Knight of Pentacles coming in, the only way for this to be worked out is for all the pieces to be brought together, for all the little pieces to be brought together. And I think that's the way that the situation can be resolved the best, is by looking at the situation from a practical standpoint and from a standpoint of progress, but that obviously needs to be overseen over time. So very interesting reading so far, Scorpio, or thus far. Very interesting reading. I kind of get the vibe that for a lot of you guys, this has to do with more of a community setting for you, not necessarily just an an interpersonal relationship. But with the Six of Cups and Justice coming up, this is a past life lover, or it's someone that you've been married to for quite some time, and where things may have been falling out in some areas because you're experienced and and conquered other issues in your relationship. This is no different. How the approach will be is, taking taking your stance and looking at it from the perspective of someone else's, right? Or looking at someone else's perspective. There's something here where you've grown and matured in such a great deal that there's no need to worry, if there is any. I'm not getting really any worry vibes. I'm not getting any anxiety vibes, but I am getting the sense that what the situation is looking like, and you are currently taking precautions not to to respond to the situation too much, with too much aggression, because I think the situation just needs more precision, which I feel like that's what you're noticing. Something needs more precision, and something that needs more concise action and a strategy to overcome it.